Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second edition of the Pacific Town Hall. We'll just give people a few minutes to connect and join in. And we are recording this session, so if you don't feel comfortable coming on camera, that's fine. But we feel the conversation will be interesting enough that we'll put this up on our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining. And I see some familiar faces. Hello, Peter. Hello, Mihaela, Melanie, Joe, Jeremy, and lots of new faces too. So that's really exciting to see. And then the chat is open, so feel free to use the chat room as a secondary place just to have comments and chat offline as we have conversations. The format for tonight is going to be pretty relaxed and loose. The goal is just to have a conversation. A few weeks ago, there was a video that was put up onto YouTube called Line Goes Up, which is my backdrop. And it posed some really critical viewpoints and hard questions for the blockchain community in particular. So today is just a conversation around what you thought, where we can improve, and are we really building, like, I know a lot of people here are from the Cardano blockchain, and are we really building systems and decentralization and things to build a future platform for finance, governance, and everything else? Or are we just contributing to the big Ponzi scheme and letting people who join later hold the bag? So that's kind of the conversation I would love to have today and get people's viewpoints on blockchain, Web 3.0, NFTs, DAOs, things like that. And really have a great conversation, because being part of a blockchain community myself, we're in it to change lives and build systems of the future. And I would really love to make sure that we're on the right side of history and doing the right thing and not just contributing to the mania and not have another tulip thing going on here. And I guess I should mention this event is hosted by the Salmon Nation Decentralized Alliance, which is a group based in Victoria, BC in Canada. And its mission is to connect people in the Salmon Nation bioregion, which is a bioregion that stretches from Alaska down the west coast of Canada and the United States to about San Francisco or Santa Cruz, tied together by salmon as kind of its common natural resource. And yeah, we're really looking at connecting local entrepreneurs, blockchain specialists, and people who want to make a difference in the world, and kind of coming up with solutions on how to use blockchain to make the world a better place. So this is our second Pacific Town Hall. Our first one was kind of cozy 2 weeks ago, and this is our second one. So hopefully we have some really good conversations. So I just wanted to kick it off saying there was homework if you saw the meetup to watch the video. And so some ground rules: if people really want to all talk at once, please use the raise hand function. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a button called reactions. And if you press it, there's a big button there that says raise hand, which will raise a hand like this. And then we'll take people in the order of raised hands to speak and take the floor. And yeah, so I guess, does anybody have any questions? All right, let's kick it off. Maybe since we are a pretty small group right now, it might be nice just to have a quick go around to see where people are coming from and what their interest is tonight, just to kick things off. I've kind of did my little intro. So maybe we can each just talk a little bit about why we're here and what we hope to get from tonight. And after you've spoken, pick the next person to pass the baton off to. So I will pick Joe Allen to kick us off.
Kia ora, thank you, Nori. Kia ora koutou katoa. My name's Joe. I'm calling in from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm part of the Cardano Project Catalyst community as well, and working on a similar mission to Nori. How can we use these tools, the picks and shovels of our time, to create a better world for everybody that is a little bit more equal and certainly looking after the planet and the environment as well. I run a community here with a whole bunch of people in New Zealand, and yeah, watch the video and yeah, have some thoughts from previous incarnations in other industries when new technology arrived, and hearing dissenting opinions when those things arrived, like mobile phones and the internet and what have you. So I'm looking forward to having the conversation with you all this evening. And I'm going to pass it to Melanie.
Thank you, Joe. So I'm dialing in from Cherryville, BC. I live off grid. I've been through the scams, the network marketing. I've lost a lot of money from that. And I never felt good about signing up other people because I always thought about the last person in and what are they getting from it. So, you know, I kept looking. I knew that there's something about blockchain that had potential, and followed Fairy Creek, the clear cutting that's coming close to that. And I got a little bit frustrated with not finding solutions. And a friend of mine who since has passed away got me in, onto Cardano and the things that are going on there. I joined probably about 5-6 months ago, lurked for a little bit. And at one point or another, I saw a lot of people caring about the environment spread out throughout, and then I just helped connect people. And since then, we formed a group called Cardano for Climate, and like-minded, like-hearted people coming together that care about our world, our future, and are coming with some pretty cool ideas. We don't have it all figured out yet, but we're working on it. And I think the perfection is actually the collaboration going on. So it's a very safe, inviting environment. I wouldn't normally be talking like this. I'm extremely introvert. So it's so safe that I've been able to come out of my shell and find a place for my heart to land. So I am going to pass it over to Chris.
Thank you, Melanie. And thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm calling in from Orange County, California, just south of Los Angeles. And I'm here to just learn about, new projects, just share insight. You know, my favorite thing about this industry is the community. We're bringing this world closer together through, the beauty of blockchain technology and all the fun, innovative projects out there in the marketplace. The way that I'm involved in the industry professionally is that I worked for a startup based out of San Francisco, and we created basically an accounting solution to help any business that is minting NFTs, as well as acquiring digital assets, with updating their QuickBooks and their general ledger. So if you're going to do it, you want to make sure, at least here in the States, you comply with GAAP compliance. So our system will create the journal entries and the necessary tax reports to do that. We have a network of CPAs, and we also work, internationally too. So the domain's in my name, but you know what? I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much. And I will pass it to Joel.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Joel Visal. I'm a resident in Victoria, BC, and have been, I guess, in cryptocurrencies for 5-6 years now, primarily as an investor, but also, fairly big believer in the idea of separation of money and state. So, the group was, and I'm kind of semi-retired. My current goal or activity right now is to help high net worth individuals to get into blockchain and investments. And just wanted to understand the Cardano workspace, which is new to me. I'm generally, more on the Ethereum side of things with DeFi, but have recently learned about Cardano, and I'm interested in hearing its benefits, and really enjoy meeting with like-minded people. So I'm happy to be here. And with that, I will pass it on to Mathieu Alex.
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Mathieu Alex, and I'm currently living in Montreal. I am a new professional in the field of information management, and I have been interested for some time now in disruptive technologies from an archival perspective. So these are two completely different universes, and I am particularly concerned about the carbon footprint and also the environmental impact of blockchain technology. And yeah, I learned about this event on LinkedIn, and I found it very interesting to approach the subject from a critical angle. So yeah, I'm very glad to be here. And I will now pass it to Chris.
I already spoke.
You're very
sorry.
popular.
Sorry, I wasn't watching earlier, so I just jumped in. Sorry. So yeah, so Bridget, I don't know if you have already speaker. Yeah, perfect, great.
Yeah, no, well done. Yeah, kia ora everybody. Like Joe, I'm here from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and we're working, the organisation I work for is called Toha, and I've actually linked up with you previously, Mel, in the Cardano for Climate network, because we are going to be building on Cardano, and we're in the process at the moment of figuring all of that out. We are a FinTech for Climate organisation, specifically with the financial infrastructure and contracting mechanisms and incentive dynamics that mean that you can get scale finance into nature-based solutions to climate change. So things like regenerative agriculture and reforestation and marine ecosystem restoration and all that good stuff that the kind of climate solutions that are available to us right now, but that struggle from being like kind of not good investment propositions. We've basically cracked how to make them investable and how to make sure that everyone who's contributing to the good work for the environment benefits from that good work as well as the planet. So we're really excited about our project, and it's got lots of momentum and going really well. And yeah, 2022 for us is about stepping out with the blockchain aspects of our project. We've operationalized at the moment off-chain, and it's now time to bring that on-chain, and we've selected Cardano, which we're really excited about. And yeah, this was a really timely posting of the video, Nori, because we are like right down in the knotty, difficult weeds of our tokenomics at the moment, and basically grappling with like all of these types of questions and making sure that we don't inadvertently become the bad guys. So yeah, really great conversation to have initiated. Thank you. I will throw to Don.
Oh boy. Oh, so my name is Don. Nice to meet everybody. I'm here in Carson City, Nevada. So close to Reno. And heard about this group through a couple of mutual friends. So I decided to check it out. What I do currently for a full-time job is I work in IT, generally working in desktop and network support. But I've got a fairly technical background. I'm interested in the Cardano ecosystem and working on developing a project to hopefully bring in more people, bring more awareness, and just essentially populate, if you will. So that's don't really have any big eco projects going on. A lot of these things are very admirable. I'm glad to see them. I like the type of carbon footprint that Cardano usually holds in the crypto industry. So that's a big plus for me. But I'm currently working on a project that I'm really just starting out on and building up some liquidity for, and wanted to check out the group and meet some new people, maybe network a little bit. That's really about it. I think we'll pass it on to Percy.
Hello, am I clear? Good. So my name is Percy. I'm in Victoria, British Columbia at the moment. I work with Jeremy at Lamboldi in IT. I got to know about the video just an hour ago, so I was still finishing it, and was kind of now more interested in hearing what everyone thinks about what he raised, because he raises very good points. And I think for anything new, like the internet and back in the day, electricity, gold, it is nice to see that with every new thing, there are more and more platforms which would have conversations about what is going wrong, what is going right. And like back in the day where where everyone was going west, and yet there could probably be some people going east for silver or platinum or something. But yeah, I am in Cardano at the moment. I was an early investor in 2017 and then dropped out because of lack of community. It was all about making money. So, and that wears off at a certain point. But when I joined Cardano, I saw what they were doing, and especially from where I come from, they're making real progress in terms of technology, service provider, provision, and all that. And that goes a long way for me. And so that is why I'm involved at the moment. I will pass it on to Jeremy, of course.
Hey, Percy. Hey, everybody. My name is Jeremy. In my day job, I work in IT. And in regards to Cardano, I actually run a stake pool with Nori and another gentleman named Brian, Salmon stake pool. And I'm also part of the Salmon Nation organization that Nori mentioned earlier. And I'm also one of the hosts for today's event. So welcome everybody, and looking forward to the discussion. And let's see who has not talked yet. Ray, I think you haven't talked yet. You good to go? You're just muted at the moment.
Yeah, gotta fumble with the mouse. Anyway, so I wasn't ready for hello, here I am. Here's who I am and what my interest is. But bottom line, I'm from San Diego. I love bleeding edge, leading edge technology. I've been involved in it my entire life. I've done a tremendous amount of research in cryptocurrency, the blockchain, how it mechanically works with all the banks and computers up in Iceland and what have you. And then, of course, in the NFT space, have a real interest in investing, flipping, also creating cryptocurrency itself. So, but at the same time, we all know this is indeed still the Wild West. It's the Wild West in all aspects of this entire thing. And there are people who have lost fortunes already, and there are people who have made fortunes already. So it's a matter of where to dip in and dip in safely. So I'll leave it at that for now. I could also talk for hours about all the stuff that I learned about this stuff. So I'll leave it there. Oh, I'm supposed to say hands of who hasn't spoken, or say I haven't. Oh, sorry, Peter. There you go, Peter.
Super. Thanks, Ray. Welcome. Thanks for hosting Salmon Nation. I love that Nori gave us homework. I love the way Nori goes about his business. Very conscientiously, like, it's great. And yeah, that video, gosh, that was a gut check, wasn't it? Comes on the heels of that Moxie article that's been doing the rounds as well. So really putting a critical eye on our whole space and what we're about. So yeah, it gave me lots to think about. As always, I have copious notes. I'll reserve that for later. And Nori can time watch me, or Melanie. My background, I was just chatting with Mathieu. It's really cool to see another archivist here. I'm an archivist by education and training. I've worked for the last 20 years in archives IT. I'm the creator of 2 free and open source platforms that are now the most widely deployed archives management systems around the world. They're used by NGOs and governments and probably your local archives. And I've been a blockchain enthusiast for a long time. Like somebody else mentioned here, like I've have libertarian values and see a lot of potential in blockchain technology and did early on. And I've been doing like R&D and investing in blockchain for many years now. And finally made the decision to go full-time on Web3 blockchain-based development back in December. So I left my company I started, that founded, that's working on that archival software platform. I'm trying to bring those same standards and research over to a fully decentralized Web3 stack. And I see a huge gap in record keeping requirements and standards that verify the authenticity of records. NFTs are supposed to be about authenticity, but at the moment, in my opinion, are still largely proofs of concept. And the line goes up. Video did a really good breakdown of what the problems are and where the work remains to be done. And so yeah, I can talk more about that if anybody's interested. I've got a project on the go right now. It's funded so I'm a Cardano developer as well. I've got one project in the Cardano space called OrcFax, and that's creating an oracle, so taking real world data and bringing it on chain. But as an archivist, I'm very much interested in the authenticity of the off-chain information and verifying it and archiving it for future reference, rather than just pumping a bunch of price feed on chain so people can do weird yields and swaps and other things. I'm more interested in more abstract ideas about fake news and disinformation and Earth data. And so related to Earth data, I've got a proposal in right now. We'll find out tomorrow if it's funded, when it's called Trudano.earth. And the idea there is to conserve mature trees, to recognize their natural capital value and the carbon sink value that they have by tokenizing them as NFTs. And the other real fi project I have is tokenizing, creating NFTs for land title registration, which is also an issue in the developing world where 1 billion people own property but don't have land title on it, and therefore they can't enter the financial system, or they are at risk of fraud from people that buy the land out from underneath them. So there's opportunities to do good there. But again, like the video told us, like there's a lot of, sometimes good intentions can go misfire. And so I'm very interested in making sure NFTs are sound legal instruments. And I'm happy to discuss that further today or elsewhere. But yeah, that's me. Thanks. I'll pass it on to who hasn't spoken yet, Steve.
Hello. I'll have to get a camera, but I'm shy. So anyway, I come from the international education world. Currently, way back in the 90s, late 80s, I was in nuclear power and health physics, doing a lot of tracking of radiation levels in people and in areas, using different instrumentation. Anyway, kind of come from an IT background, landed in international education, doing data feeds to a lot of the alphabet organizations in the US, like USCIS, the Department of Homeland Security, FBI, stuff like that, tracking internationals. So when COVID hit, they finally let us do electronic signatures a little bit more solidly. And there's been some development about barcodes on the bottom of I-20s and DS-2019s, which are immigration documents. So I started looking into Atala Prism and DIDS, and to place a lot of that onto the chain. We're doing some of that at Arkansas and and like a MIT as far as like degrees, certifications. So we're actually tracking the level of COVID spread in our office from the handling of passports and visas and paper documentation. Some of these international comes in with just a handful of documents. If they're from African countries, a lot of these documents can get lost. So a lot of the computer science students are coming over and saying, oh, if this could just be on the blockchain. I first thought about NFTs to do so, but you actually need fungible and non-fungible things. But some things could be existing as NFTs. So I'm looking into that, but really going through the Atala Prism program and looking into DIDs really to do a lot of this, but really just starting on the research of it. So certainly get a hold of me if you can help me out, or if I can help you out in that area. And I'm in Arkansas, USA. So thank you.
Beautiful. Do you want to pick somebody, Steve, to pass it on to? I think Dimitri, Mihail.
Yeah, we're running out of people. Yeah, Dimitri, yeah, or Don.
Yeah, so I'm Dimitri from Sri Lanka, that's South Asia, and it's Thursday morning here, just almost 8 o'clock. So my involvement, I'm a entrepreneur for about 25 years, primarily in the IT sector, but also other sectors. I got involved with cryptos last August, last June when I started mining. And then I got involved with Cardano in August, and worked here as a CA, a community advisor, veteran community advisor. And right now I'm in the process of running for the Catalyst Circle, which is on Saturday. So please come and vote, hopefully for me, but please come and vote. So I'm just plugging that event as well. So anyway, so why I like Cardano is there's a great community. Jonathan invited me to, and I was able to find multiple different areas of interest. So right now I'm involved with the Cardano for Climate group. I'm involved with the Cardano Creatives group. I've started the South Asian Town Hall, which is on Tuesday evening at 6:30 our time, and also involved with the Eastern Town Hall, and now with you guys here. So my interest in NFTs is multiple. So I have a project of elephant NFTs that is under development, which when I sell the NFTs, a portion of the profits will go for elephants, the human-elephant conflict in Sri Lanka, and solving that. Apart from that, I've got other projects relating to NFTs, which involve projects like picking up slaughter waste and converting it into pet food, and picking up food that's discarded from restaurants and distributing it to beneficiaries. And all those things will require NFTs for verification, both at the starting point and the ending point. So these are proposals that I'll be bringing to in Fund 8. Apart from that, my interest in NFTs will be where I'll be working on multiple NFT related projects to generate funds for various social causes that I'm involved in, and also helping other people to do NFTs. Like yesterday, I spoke to a friend of mine, a dancing teacher friend of mine. So she's very curious and very interested in. She knows nothing about the blockchain. So I said, don't worry about the blockchain. You look after the dancing, and I'll look after the rest. So we are going to create NFTs of dancing. All those things will be sellable on various marketplaces. Plus, I want to build my own marketplace in Fund 8, primarily where every NFT that gets sold, person can choose a charitable or social cause that they want to donate to. But whatever they choose is fine, but someone gets a portion of the revenue. So it's like a social cause NFT kind of marketplace. It's not just for money, but you choose where your NFT goes to support. You're part of the money at least. So you decide the percentage, you decide where it goes, or you can split it between multiple projects. It's completely up to you. So that's the idea for an NFT marketplace that I'm putting forward in Fund 8. Yeah, so those are some of the projects that I'm working on. I'm not a developer. I wish I was, but I'm not. I'm a more of a creative idea kind of person, and I get the developers who will join me to see the vision and work on that together with me. And my biggest project that I'm looking at doing in some concept is to use NFTs to finance building of kids' homes all across the country as well as other countries, whereby kids, orphans who have no one, will be adopted and raised up till age 21, and the financing for their food, clothing, shelter, education will be done through, as well as the staff to look after the homes. All that is going to be done through NFTs and similar mechanisms. So basically, through the sale of NFTs, these kids' lives will get financed. So it's like sponsoring a child, where people can can pay a monthly amount and sponsor a child, but this will be through NFTs, a similar concept. So basically, the idea being that at 21, the kid is fully educated and able to go out on their own and live their own life, but also having been part of our family. So that is me. I've got 3 sons, aged between 10 and 13. So this is my life.
Thanks, Dimitri. Mihaela, are you there? You want to introduce yourself and why you
I'm
came?
here, of course. Hi. Yes, well, I think everybody probably knows me here. So I'm all about blockchain for social impact, and I'm so happy to be with you all here and to see. I'm just wondering, I mean, it's amazing. Are all the people in the Cardano community targeting social impact? Is Cardano the blockchain for social impact? But it's amazing to see, or we are the ones who are concerned with this video. Because I must say, and maybe, I observed that usually my posts get a lot of likes. And when I forwarded your post, I didn't get such an enthusiastic response, right? So of course a lot is going on. I don't want to feel conspiratorial, but I'm like, okay, are you attacking now this faction of the world which is for the line going up and up and up and up? So I'm just puzzled and intrigued and angry and you name it. Yes, since I heard this video, and there are so many questions, like how can we know that they are Ponzi schemes? I was so disappointed when I found out about the behind the other people's art sale was a deal which he made with the buyer, and he has 20% of the buyer's company, and it's like, wow. So this is not necessarily, I mean, maybe it's about helping artists, but it seems like there's always an ulterior motive. So are NFTs just another means to game the system? That's for me, a very disappointing perspective. So I just cannot wait to learn. I realize there are so many people who know so much here and experts. And yeah, I look forward to the conversation. And thank you for your initiative.
Thank you, Mihaela. Good to have you here.
And I'm not on video, sorry, because I'm on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. So it's pretty late here and I feel more relaxed right now. Just
okay. Thank you for being here. And Kristen, you hopped in a little late. We've just been going around introducing ourselves. And if you feel comfortable, it'd be great if you could unmute and just tell a little bit about yourself and why you came with this particular topic and what you hope to get out of it.
Hi, thank you for having me join your group. I'm new to NFTs and also a creative type, and I enjoy making digital art. I recently, as of maybe 2 months ago, heard about NFTs, and I'm super excited. And my husband has been working on collecting them, and I want to learn to create them. And so this is all brand new for me, and I'm so grateful to be a part of your group and to listen in and be a sponge.
Thank you for coming.
Mhm.
So a lot of people have mentioned NFTs, so maybe we should kick it off there. There's a lot of hype around NFTs. One of people I know here in Victoria is a venture capitalist, and he just posted something to Twitter that said, for all those people who don't like NFTs, my 7th and 8th grade children, that's all they talk about these days. And if it's penetrating to that level of society, then it's a thing and we should pay attention. And so I'm curious, what do people think? Right now, NFTs are all about the digital art and everything, but there's a lot of criticism put down against them as, like, the line goes up is kind of, is it just a Ponzi scheme? Are there actual digital rights being traded back and forth, or is it just kind of a huge scam? So yeah, Ray, you want to go first?
So I forgot to mention that I did indeed listen to the first hour of the video. And in all the reading that I've done, all the research that I've done of the marketplaces, and even what the first hour of this video said, is the same conclusion I've come up with. While I was doing the reading on my own, I said, is this a Ponzi scheme? In my own head, while I'm reading, is this a Ponzi scheme? Is it a multi-level marketing? Is it a chain letter? What the hell is this? You got these pieces of nothing art that people are investing in. And they crank out 10,000 of these things by altering them just a little bit. And they create a few that are really rare. We only got one that's got the hat with a red label, red ribbon on it. And if you don't have a good game with that NFT, with whatever it is, whether it's photographs, whether it's art, but if you don't have some kind of a community, some kind of a game that's related to it, you don't have good marketing, it's just going to sit there. Then there's the issues of, if it's already established, like the main one, CryptoPunks, I believe, right? If it's really established, you've got high numbers. Yeah, people got in. But like what he said on the video, who's going to buy it? There's only so much money available that people are putting into this. Somebody's got to have the money to buy it. So if you're flipping, if you're trading, at some point, that's going to wind up nowhere. And so where do you get in? Do you get in at the floor when something is first brought out with a low number? And anything in the middle of 10,000 is a really risky situation. So you have to do a lot of research to figure this stuff out. A lot of research. If you're going to invest, you have to do a lot of research in, who are these people? Who created this? Are they just some guy sitting somewhere who's going to figure out how to make a quick buck and then disappear? Or are they in it for the long haul? And are they really going to create a community? So you've got a real artist. You've got something that's really got some serious value. I think we're up to, what is it, 8,000, 9,000 NFTs now. It's still new. So when this thing goes even higher, or is it 100,000? When it gets up to a couple of million NFTs, what has value? What doesn't have value? There's a craze. There's a piranha frenzy going on here. And I think at some point, there will be a pullback and people are going to say, what the hell is this? I'm spending this kind of money for this stupid little piece of art here? What the hell? What am I doing? That's not Mona Lisa. That's somebody cranking out something digitally. It has no value. So I think at some point, there may be a settling in, but it's almost like the gold rush, remember? So they even said, I don't know if he said it in this thing later in the second hour, but I've read it in several places where people are saying, we're really dealing with the Wild West when it comes to NFTs. It's a Wild West scenario right now. It's a gold rush scenario. And a lot of people are in the middle of all of this stuff, not really knowing what the hell they're doing. They just
Yeah.
want in because they've heard other people have made huge amounts of money. And so, well,
Yeah.
I want to get in on this. Well, you can lose a lot of money as well.
Those are all really good points, Ray. Thank you. Just before we move to Dimitri, Mihaela, you had your hand up. Did you want to speak, or did you
No, that was
withdraw?
mistaken. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ray. Dimitri, you have something you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with the points raised in the video. But I also want to say that to me, it's no different than any other collector's item. That is to say, baseball cards to, any sort of memorabilia, sports trivia memorabilia, uh, any sort of collector's item, whether it be a tangible item or an intangible, it's still some sort of value for the person who is looking at it. So while there may be people who are interested in, we'll say, baseball cards, there are other people who consider them just as pieces of cardboard and not even worth the cardboard that they're printed on. But it's all a matter of perception and about value that people place on it for various arbitrary reasons. Now in this country, it's cricket. So we have all sorts of cricket memorabilia that for a cricket fan, it's a big thing, but for a non-cricket fan, it's just, why are you spending your money on that? I mean, there are better things to spend. And the cricket fan will say, no, but this is the reason I'm spending my money. So there is a gap of understanding between the two parties. So while there are multiple schemes that are, like the video said, probably pyramid schemes or Ponzi schemes or whatever, there are likely also going to be good projects that have social impact and can do some difference by using this as a mechanism to generate funds, which is no different in that sense from any other creative mechanism to raise funds for anything, like a fundraiser where you charge $100 a plate. Is that plate worth $100? No, but you're paying the $100 because you want to contribute to that cause. So it's, I mean, as much as you can't write off a fundraiser as a Ponzi scheme, you shouldn't necessarily write off NFTs blanket as Ponzi schemes. It's a case by case, and in any case, value is going to be attributed by the person who is looking at it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so I guess value is in the eye of the beholder. So this is what I would say about this whole thing.
Okay, very good point. Dimitri's arguing that it's a case by case kind of thing. Steve, what are your thoughts?
I'm almost mistakenly started investing in hundreds of NFTs just because I got into the game Splinterlands. I used to play Magic the Gathering and spent lots of money on those cards and then sold them for lots of money. And then actually when it went electronic, spent some money just kind of in the ether. It just kind of went out to nowhere. So started to make small investments into it, and it's already like tripled in value. Of course, that's going to fluctuate. But anyway, there's utility being other than gaming. Before, I think in the chat I said, digital beanie babies, but I held off on getting into Bitcoin because I didn't see utility there. And at the time, I invested in a house. It's doubled in value, but Bitcoin was $40 a coin at the time that I invested about 100,000 of US into this house. Well, if I had put that into Bitcoin, yeah, of course I'd be, multi-millionaire right now. That's everybody's story, right? So talking about the Wild West of things, these games, these utilities, are just coming out. At the same time, I don't understand. I like the crazy apes or whatever that's in the background. I see these on Facebook and everywhere, and I absolutely don't. I know that there's a marketplace for them, just like the cards that I'm buying, but and a marketplace to buy and sell them on chain. But I don't understand the utility of the crazy apes.
Very good point. Melanie, you have something to add, and then Peter.
Oh, I've got a bunch to add, but you know, I've been through this FOMO. That's what got me into crypto to begin with, and the coin I paid 2 cents for, you know, went to half a cent or less. And so, you know, big losses there. I've just determined in this part of my life not to do anything based on FOMO, fear of missing out or getting rich. It's just kind of not my thing. But I did buy a couple NFTs from Gimbal Labs, which is part of Cardano, and they're doing this experiment called Password Chaos. They started it at 100, was it 100 ADA? And every, you know, so much time it would just drop, and it's an experiment. It's a project-based learning, and I ended up getting a couple of these for 22 ADA each, and I absolutely love them. But I didn't buy them to make money on them. I bought them to support what's going on at Gimbal Labs, because it's an incredible organization. And the things that they're doing, the experiment, they're creating templates for the world, open source templates to be able to change the world. So, you know, having that opportunity to put in a little bit, and then I got to pick a couple, and I absolutely love them. And it's like, you know, so I know it sounds like, you know, the discussion is all about NFTs and buying them and flipping them and making money on them, but some of them have a different kind of value. And I hope that we can promote more of that and disconnect from the attachment to fiat and getting wealthy, because there is some really good utility coming up in NFTs. I'm thinking about Shlomo Cohen. He's an artist. He's Hoskin Tunes. He's done a couple NFTs. He's he's releasing 12 NFTs sometime soon related to ocean cleanup. And these will go on auction. I hope he makes, you know, massive amounts of money on those. And it's to a good cause. The artwork is amazing. I'm fortunate enough to be part of that discussion. And it's like, this is what I'd like to see happen with NFTs. So, you know, maybe we can shift away from the get rich quick stuff, if possible.
Yeah, nice. I like that the narrative is shifting a bit from flipping them and making money to good causes. And then you also mentioned utility. So maybe Peter can continue that thread a little bit.
Yeah, good segue. Utility is what I'm interested in. I think, you know, the video and the discussion so far is really focused on what everybody thinks of as an NFT right now, which is a digital collectible. And that's only one utility for an NFT token. And I think there's a risk of the baby being thrown out with the bathwater, because I do think there's a fundamentally revolutionary technology behind all of this. The fact that we can create a unique digital representation of a unique unique thing. And we've been focused so far on unique digital things, and they're cheap and easy to produce. I can generate a hat, I can generate a unique identifier, I can generate some JPEG GIF art really easily. But there's things in the real world where they are truly unique, and there's only one thing. There's only 100-year-old tree at the corner of my cabin's lot. There's only one plot of land, and there's only one time, there's only one owner for those things. And to be able to represent those authentically, digitally on a ledger where there's distributed consensus on the veracity of that information and the veracity of that ownership is something new and revolutionary. And that's something that you know, the person who put out that video wasn't really, I think that was the part that was missing from that discussion. And he was just reacting to the Ponzi scheme, the greed, the hype, the fact that people are getting ripped off. And, you know, what in the end was his fundamental disagreement with the nature of the technology, whether in fact it is something new and revolutionary, or whether it's just something that's, you know, really just over-engineered for a bunch of tech bros' satisfaction. And again, I think achieving distributed consensus for the right use cases is a revolutionary thing that we haven't had before. And obviously we don't want to do it with proof of work. I agree 100% with this criticism on energy waste. And that's why, for one thing, I'm very interested in working on the Cardano blockchain, working on a proof of stake blockchain. That said, I think there's lots of issues around delegated proof of stake that we're seeing as well. I think fundamentally you only have to have, some of the other criticisms about the technology is that you only have to have so much living on chain, and then the rest you have to have living off chain. And that off chain connection has to be permanent, has to be secure, it has to be private. And that's just infrastructure that people haven't been building. They've just been lazy about it. They've just been hooking up to the same old things we've always done, is creating centralized APIs and databases. And that's now where people that are really interested in creating true decentralized technology, like I am myself, I'm bringing that background I have in digital archives and record keeping and applying it to something that's a true decentralized stack. That's the kind of work that needs to be done. But again, we run the risk now of getting painted with the same brush as being a bunch of scammers, Ponzi schemers, dreamers, fairy tale believers. Where again, me as somebody that believes in the power of decentralization and the idea that what we should be decentralizing is power, and nobody's going to, it'd be great if we all need to make a living and pay the bills and feed our kids and pay the mortgages. So there needs to be some incentive model associated with as well, some way to remunerate people. But at the end of the day, nobody's getting rich from decentralizing power. It's also a value of gut check that this video presents to us. It's like, what are we in it for? Or do we really want decentralized web, or do I want to make a quick buck and not get left out? Do I really want to change the world? And if so, is this technology the tool to do it? Do I believe that or not? And we all have to do a gut check and decide whether that's true for us or not. Otherwise, we're wasting our time. Go build a new Web 2 product otherwise. So it's easier. And so anyway, that's my feedback. And I think, so to summarize, I think the NFTs for digital collectibles is a sideshow or a freak show, and I wish it would just end. And so we can get on with the real business of using NFT technology to continue decentralizing finances, power, governance, and bringing it to the edges, bringing power to the people.
Thanks, Peter. Matthew, your hand's up next.
Yeah, thanks, Peter, for the perspective looking at the positive social effects to improve society. I know that in Africa there is a lot of beautiful and a project that is going on with the blockchain and NFT that could somehow have a huge impact and positive outcomes. So yes, I'm concerned that somewhat is related to the archival field, that despite the fact that I don't know precisely the modalities and all technicalities specific to NFTs, I question myself on the sustainability and the long-term preservation. In the video, in the YouTube video, it was mentioned that what is stored precisely on the block is basically just an HTTPS link, or that points to the image, the photo, or whatever the token represents. It can also be stored on IPFS, but technically and in reality, nothing quite guarantees that the preservation for over a long time, and because there is a risk of a link rot. So the content wouldn't be accessible. So I have the impression that this requirement is not taking into account the development of the underlying infrastructure, and it could be a serious risk in the long term perspective, as everybody know that digital is very fragile, and that platform and communication protocols evolve very quickly, and they are not eternal. So yeah, I think maybe it's because the people that are making the decisions is a very small cohesive group of cryptographers and computer scientists, and I think a more broad perspective would be better, and could lead to more socially beneficial applications for everyone. And yeah, so that was what struck me the most in the video. So yes.
Can I just interject really quickly, just directly to Matthew? I just posted a link, Matthew, to a project called rweave.org. And I've been working with IPFS at Filecoin for a number of years, and I've switched over to using Arweave because I think it directly addresses this problem of bit rot, link rot for NFTs. So I suggest anybody else who's interested to have a look at that project as well. It's very interesting. The idea is that it's an endowment. You put up money up front, and it's got a proof of access formula that has miners guaranteed. Just like Filecoin and IPFS, they're actually pinning it and seeding it perpetually. And it's a very interesting project, and I believe it's for real. So, and a lot of NFTs are moving over to Arweave, including our NFTs on the Cardano space. Are moving over to use that as their permanent storage layer.
Nice.
Fantastic. I will look at it. Thank you.
All right, Ray, you have your hand up again.
I also did spend a lot of time studying the business side of all of this, like what Peter was saying. And for the ownership and transfer of ownership between businesses, smart contracts, very interesting. The transfer of ownership for real estate, any real estate, commercial, a hotel, a house, to use smart contracts for that is kind of interesting. And as well is I just started stumbling into this stuff about, well, NFTs somehow can represent that. I'm still not quite clear enough on, well, why do you need this digital image? You've already got a smart contract. Why do you also need a digital image to have something to do with something that is business related in any way whatsoever? You've got the smart contract, that's it. And of course, the smart contracts, which are very powerful about them, this part of it really does interest me significantly, is that as one moves through time with any asset, again, a business, a home, real estate of any kind, automobiles, anything of value, to be able to have that transaction take place without a lot of middle people and without a lot of government interference, without a lot of commissions to a lot of different people, without a need for banks to be in the middle of it with all their fees, that part of it is very powerful. But because we are still in the early Wild West bleeding leading edge phase, there are still the issues of the structure of all of this underneath to make sure that all this really does work. As they've said, right now you have X amount of transactions that are taking place on a daily basis. We haven't even gotten close to the types of transactions they're envisioning. And we already have issues of the computer systems required to run this. Those issues are already there. The reason those computers are up in Iceland is because they run so hot. That's why they're in Iceland. They're in basically freezer buildings processing millions of data every second. So, and that's just with what they've got today. So as you expand this in all the ways everybody's talking about, whether it's the NFTs and all the different ways that can happen, whether it's music or art, all the other stuff that any NFTs can be used for, but just cryptocurrency itself, they don't have right now the power to do it if it really goes full gun. All of North America, all of Europe, all of Asia, all crypto, all blockchain. The system doesn't exist to do that. So it's true, prior to, hey, we didn't have electricity either. Before Edison and before Tesla came up with AC, we didn't have any electricity either. So slowly but surely that stuff became invented and they figured out how to use it. Before they discovered oil, we didn't even know, hey, you could have a combustible engine. And then once somebody figured out, wait a minute, you're throwing all that excess stuff away, we can put that in cars as gas. That was a slow process. And then they began to realize, wait a minute, we can do more with these combustible engines, and all kinds of stuff happened. So bleeding leading edge, I understand there's a lot to do here. There's a long ways to go. And everybody has to be very careful as you tiptoe into it. Like somebody said earlier, already lost some money. I've been reading articles about billions of dollars that have disappeared, literally stolen. And then, of course, billions have been lost, bad decisions. So a lot of stuff at play, but I love it. I absolutely love it. Leading edge. You know, hey, where can this go? Can they figure the computer component out of this? Can they figure out the computer component for this that will actually operate this? And will they keep it secure so we don't have all kinds of thefts continually going on? There was a big theft thing that just happened, right, last week. There was a big thing of the wallet somehow, just last week. And so there's all kinds of stuff that's still there. It's not a secure system yet. And that's what people have to be real clear on as you tiptoe into this.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah, I think it is in many ways still the Wild West. But I think there's a lot of progress being made. And I think if you look at the chat, they're talking about things like decentralized identities and all sorts of different things that are being built on top, which are super cool. Chris, you want to jump in with your thoughts?
Yeah, please. Just a couple of quick thoughts here. With regards to making a positive impact in the world as well as utility. Being out here in Southern California, I've worked closely with the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. In the Hollywood Chamber, they have the rights to the Hollywood sign as well as with the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So they're partnering up with a creative agency to create each star as well as the Hollywood sign as an NFT. And they're picking and choosing the appropriate marketplace and blockchain to use to sell these NFTs and utilize those proceeds as a way to support their own nonprofit organization. There's also a company called the Giving Block. I'll share the link too. And they're helping various nonprofits out there to set up a safe and secure infrastructure to be able to start accepting crypto donations. Just a couple of statistics based upon their recent annual report. The average donation online statistically is around $125. That's fiat. And then with crypto, based upon with their portfolio of clients, the average donation is around 10,000. The majority of crypto being donated is with Gen X and millennials. So I think, targeting certain demographics for fundraising, something to consider. And with regards to utility, because we have an accounting platform, we're looking for CPAs and accounting firms to learn our product. So we're creating this training program. And as a digital certificate, we're going to mint an NFT and send that to their digital wallet. And it kind of shows that they went through our program. So there's some utility to NFTs, and thought that would be worthwhile, some insight to share with the group. So again, thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, Chris. I think that's fascinating. I think the surprising thing that you just mentioned for me that I didn't quite realize before was the demographic piece, that Gen Z and millennials are more likely to participate using crypto. So that's, if you're targeting that demographic, that's definitely something to keep in mind, I think. Joel, I see you figured out how to raise your hand. Welcome.
Yeah, no, I was just a commentary on what I've been hearing. So, the concept of an NFT being a collectible is, I think, well known, and the issue really is, do you have too many artists and not enough buyers? And so I think it's always buyer beware when it comes to buying, a collectible, whether it's a, an 8x8 pixelated image, or whether it's a stamp. It's the same thing. So from an investment perspective, you have to be very careful because, it's non-fungible. It basically is unique, and that uniqueness has both interesting properties from an investment perspective, but also from a business perspective, technical perspective. I think NFTs primarily will be used, in my mind, primarily when tied to physical assets. Land title registry, things like that nature, watches. In the video, though, it was interesting because, and some of the things that he was talking about were interesting, but I think somewhat myopic, in the sense that you know, a lot of the analysis of blockchain and where we are at right now is primarily, in his opinion, you know, where we were, where the system is where ultimately where it will end up being. And I think everybody who's been in the tech space and has gone through technology, you know, through a few cycles. Some people with gray hair here, so I'm sure they've you know, some of us have gone through the tech wreck of 2000, and will understand that that, you know, technology is an evolving thing. So what you see now is essentially the equivalent of the you know, the Netscape Navigator browser of 1995. And so I don't think that you can basically form an opinion on the quality of this product or service based on what you're currently seeing right now. The other thing he was talking about was, you know, the concept of being transactional. Like, to me, being transactional is essentially is a method of free expression. So so there's nothing wrong with that. In particular, you know, in blockchain where the you know, prices are free, and price is an indicator of value, that there's no problem having a, you know, transactional arguments or discussions. And in this group here, where there's a lot of people who are you know, in the artistic community, you know, it's just one element among, you know, a lot of other things. So yeah, I'll I'll shut up now. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. I think some really good points. And yeah, I definitely remember the .com crash and the things that evolved out of it. I mean, that's where Web 2.0 was born. I was out of that, and we wound up with Netscape, or with Facebook and Amazon, AWS, and all the Google itself. And who knew that that's what would arise from all of that chaos in the beginning. And yeah, I always talk to people in the Cardano space that are really getting involved. And if they were around back then, everyone talks about how it feels the same. It's the same kind of excitement, and this is new stuff, and we're building this stuff to change the world again. And so it's pretty exciting to be a part of that. And yeah, so thanks. Percy, you have your hand up, and then we'll go to Ray.
Yep. So I recently had an experience with NFTs. It was a weekend. I was recovering from COVID, and I watched this video about it was how the rag pulls are done, like how lots of, but then at the end of the video, this YouTuber was talking about a project he was involved in. And so I got interested. I got in the Discord server, and on the day of minting these NFTs, I think there were like 3 or 4 people who got scammed instantly. So they would get DMs, but the creators of the NFT try to raise the point and say do not accept messages from the DMs, but then of course still things fall through the crack, and they just lost all their money just like that. And in terms of utility, what the video I think is reacting to is what it's seeing, like the recent events, the whole bird side of things. And that's just like anything, because I study a lot of history, and from the gold days and the internet and the crashes and everything, as in a way the real value lasts long way into the future, before through this stage that we are going through right now, everything is and so that's why for people like Peter, for creating real world solutions, I think it's up to them or us, the community, to kind of stick to what we're doing and pursue, but of course take note of the feedback that we have access to in this day and age, because these days information travels freely. So it's be kind of dumb if we do not try to take criticism, because yeah, there's lots of value in terms of it being unique, especially from where I come from, in a country that is been 60 years now independent, but then our land system is still up for grabs. Everything's everywhere. And me being second generation, my dad is kind of the breadwinner. And for everyone else in my family, when I come here and I see these countries that have lasted for 100 years, 1,000 years, I just look back and wonder, how do they make these things last longer, while our parents and our politicians back home think about right now, and they're going to live us this disorganized system. So it's going to be up to us to think in new ways. And if these NFTs take a turn for the wrong side of things, then I think we lose out in the long run, just like the people who are losing out in the short run at the moment. And which is very scary, because I got firsthand experience of being in that Discord server and people clicking wrong links and getting scammed out of a lot of money instantly, just for thinking it was an honest project and there was value in it. They wanted to create a tool for trading NFTs, there was some utility to that, but then I think those people didn't deserve to.
Thanks for sharing that anecdote, Percy.
Yeah.
Ray.
Nori, you said something a second ago, which is so 1,000% on target. When in the 90s, I actually had I was the founder and operator of the largest networking group for internet new media in LA. We had 8,000 members. We had 2 of these types of meetings every single week. We normally had about 100 people attending every single event. They were from Pasadena to Santa Barbara in the Valley, Burbank, down to LA and Santa Monica. What you just said was exactly what was going on there. We had people that came in with these really stupid ideas. This is the 90s. They had some really dumb ideas. They came up with something where they were going to say you could, on your computer, you'd be able to look at videos. There'd be thousands of videos, and you can just upload these videos somewhere, somehow. And the people at these meetings would say, and where's that going to happen? How's that going to happen? That's totally impossible. Then there was another guy who showed up at our meetings who said, I got this great idea. You're going to be able to go onto a website and you're going to be able to upload money, and somebody from anywhere in the world is going to be able to get that money. You can transfer money between people. If you have a job, you can pay people through this application. That guy showed up at our meetings. So what you're saying is right, and it almost needs to be said more here, is that Web 2, right? That's the other term here, right? Web 2 and currency and crypto and all that. I just was reading that Web 2 is effectively the new internet. And so back then, we were all figuring it out. We were all trying to, hey, this could happen, this could happen. I used to have meetings with top VC, venture capital guys, top angel funders. I myself got a commitment for $50 million on a web-based application. 2 weeks later, that bubble burst. 2 weeks later, it burst. So yeah, what you said, and somebody else said with us guys with the gray hairs, I lived it. So I do love bleeding edge new technology, and I've lived it with the internet, and I was in and among those people who created a lot of the stuff. And here it's the same thing, and more people probably need to use those terms so that everybody understands that this is something new. This is the next wave. This is the next wave of the technology that will sit on top of the internet and will potentially change the way we do business in relationships with contracts and the way currency will transfer between parties. It's a new way. We're not there yet. There's a lot of things that have to be figured out, all those engineer types who are figuring out mechanically. But then there's the legal part of it, because at one point, you may remember, China closed it down. China closed cryptocurrency down. And now in the United States, they're just working on how are we going to get on top of this? How are we going to control it in the United States? So I read an article that apparently somebody, and I don't know which agency's behind it, is giving, they're putting together something where the President Biden is going to make a speech and he's going to say, here are the rules and regulations that we're going to start applying here. And then we're going to go further into it and we're going to figure out how are we, the government, with its agencies, going to get on top of this whole thing called blockchain, cryptocurrency, NFTs, smart contracts. How are we going to control this? Because there's already all kinds of theft going on, all kinds of legal things. So remember that there's a couple to $4 billion they stole in cryptocurrency. They just got arrested, right? And they got another 300 million of crypto in another account somewhere. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. On the other part of it, on the beneficial side, anybody been reading the articles about Ukraine is getting millions of dollars in cryptocurrency to fund their side of what's going on with Russia? So there's a lot of good that's coming out of it too, but it's just a matter of how is that going to happen and how the contract's going to go and keep it safe, keep it honest. And it's really complicated. There's a lot of layers to it. It needs to be simplified, all that.
Yeah, those are really good points. And I think that's something that we haven't talked about much is the legislative side and the government's wanting to come in and regulate and control this. And that's even beyond the public perception of blockchain and NFTs and the narrative that we're trying to build up here. So yeah, really good points. Don, you want to go next and then Peter?
Yeah, so it's not new, the discussions that are happening here. There's always going to be concerns around either people being taken advantage of, is the collectible that somebody's actually paying for really worth what somebody's paying for it. There's always the question of what kind of utility is this doing, or the organization behind the NFT, what are they doing, that sort of thing. And to kind of give a little bit of backstory, because I was I raised my hand after Peter put in something about DAOs. Because the project that I'm working on, I'm not going to go into any great detail, but I really had to do a lot of thinking about, okay, I'm a nobody. Okay. I have many talents, but I'm not blessed with a lot of bank accounts. So it's difficult for me to raise money that I need to develop certain aspects of an organization that I want to create. Sure, you can just go out and do things, whether it's a charity or getting to know people in your community or make friends in different areas. But the one thing that I looked at was, most of the time, I'm not going to get something that I want to use to develop my project without some large strings attached. And that's where I'm really concentrating a lot of my efforts in the crypto space. There's a lot of opportunity there. It's just, how do you filter out the noise and find the real opportunity for utilization? So number one, I'm starting with a NFT project, which I'm in the middle of now. And that's simply to raise funds. And yes, it is the kind of gimmicky, images, many thousands of them. But the idea is to use those funds to help finance the actual end goal. Okay. So while there's a market, strike while the iron's hot, right? Then move on to the next part of it. When Peter mentioned DAOs, I wanted to speak up because part of my project, I want to basically run this project for a year to 2 years with a core group of developers, marketers, getting people on board, making sure it's successful so that it can continue on. But I also want to hand it over to the public through a DAO. And I plan on using NFTs for that. The NFTs themselves essentially will serve as an identity card when it's in their wallet, connected to a system that allows them to vote. Instead of just scanning a QR code or registering or whatever, if they own that NFT, they get the opportunity to help drive the direction of that project when it's under public control. If they feel like they want to sell it, they can sell their, call it a share of the company, really, because what they're doing is they're actually in charge of its development, in charge of how the money is spent, in charge of any new projects that it might want to spawn. And then if they sell it, well, that other person now has that right. It's still a non-fungible token. It's still a tradable asset on a market. It doesn't necessarily have to be pretty. It can just have the name of the company on it, but it's think of it as a digital ID. And I want to see if I can create something that I can hand over to the public and they can actually run it on their own through this NFT ownership through a DAO. That's my end goal.
I think that's a great segue to DAOs and NFTs as utility for that. And I know Peter has a lot of thoughts on that. Do you want to come in? We're coming into the last 6 minutes of today. So maybe Peter, you can bring us home with some thoughts.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it
DAOs
short and cut me off when you need to, Nori. So I mean, that was a great video. I've got like copious notes, at least 20 unique points that he made about issues with the technology that I could say, well, yes, but you haven't thought of this or done it this way, that way, all throughout the video. And then when he got to talking about DAOs, I didn't have a good answer to what he was saying. And as a matter of fact, I've been thinking a lot about this since I watched the video. And that's the one place where I'm like, you know what, you're right. Like, for a lot of our projects, including my own, I'm guilty of this myself. And I was a victim of the original DAO hack that he talked about. I was an ETH holder that put my money in the DAO hack, and I got hacked. And I was like, no, we should. I was in the camp of like, if we're really about decentralization, we shouldn't fork. And then Vitalik got over to fork anyway, and I got my money back. So I was like, okay, thanks Vitalik for my money back. But like, so anyway, the point being is that everything he said about DAOs, I agree with. And a lot of our projects, like it's the same thing where he says, oh, these NFT projects, they go, never going to make a game. We're never going to do this. And none of them declare what they're actually going to, like, we'll do something off in the future in our roadmap. And all of our projects, including the ones I have proposed, have this like magic milestone that says, and then we transition to a DAO and everything gets run by the DAO. And the stuff he raised, you know, like he made these points about, well, do you really need a DAO for that? Do you really need to put it on the blockchain? Like, do you know, why not? It sounds like you just have a company with shareholders, or it's, and you know, why can't a foundation or a trust or a co-op or a union do the same thing? And it made me think too that yes, actually, encoding some of these things, hard coding some of these things in an immutable contract may actually be shooting ourselves in the foot. And we kind of like started, a lot of us, I think, and myself, okay, let's use I here. I am guilty of like treating the DAO as like some fairy godmother, like the blockchain fairy godmother. It's like, we just do all this work and we hand it off to the DAO now, and voila, it's all taken care of. And it's all going to be awesome now. And it's like, now we step back and there's no more personal responsibility, and there's no more like inequality, and it's all taken care of because we thought of every possible permutation and coded it all in really sound high principled rules, and it's all taken care of. Whereas I think quite the opposite could happen. It could like open the door for bad actors, malice, disagreements, and you can't turn back the clock. And so it made me think a lot about what's our relationship with blockchain technology. Like there is this like, we are in a bit of a cult. We are in a bit of an echo chamber, and that this is the end all. This is going to solve all our problems, and we're the stuff he talked about, the NFT being in this toxic positive feedback loop. It's like, you could argue that's the case in Cardano and Project Catalyst as well. We haven't taken an honest look at the status of the current state of the technology and its maturity. And I think we've been overselling it as far as where it is. And I'm confident we'll get to the place where we need to get to. But there's that aspect going on in our community too. And this is what I said earlier. I was like, this video is a good gut check because it's a reality check. And that's why I appreciate you bringing it up, Nori. And I wouldn't have watched it if you hadn't. I heard about it. I'm like 2.5 hours. I'm not going to watch that. And then because you made it homework, I'm like, okay, I want to be a good student. I'm going to do my homework. And so anyway, then that's the one piece I'm really digesting on. And like, a couple of other projects too, we were talking about, okay, well, this is the way we handle, like, so with land title registrations and having a legal entity, the whole land title registration, it makes sense to put it in a foundation, just to have a legal structure. And it's like, well, then why would you need a DAO? Like, why? So what I'm getting at, there's technology, and then there's still humans. We're still humans, and the blockchain is a tool. It's fire times 10. It's like, it's fire, the wheel, the printing press, the internet. Now we got blockchain, but it's just another tool. It's not some like messiah from the gods, that like, it's not some like thing that's given to us that now suddenly is going to run society for us. Like, we're still humans. We still have to solve human problems. We still have to resolve conflicts. We still have to deal with personalities. We still have to deal with people getting sick and dying and getting hit by a bus. There's so many, like, I think we've oversimplified this idea of a DAO. And I don't want to like pour cold water on people that are working on DAOs. I think it's a noble effort, and I think we should be working towards that. But I'm very cautious about it now, as far as like, oh, by the end of 2022, we'll set up a DAO to do this. I don't think by the end of 2022, we should be putting anything in a DAO. So that's my rant. So that's what I'm thinking. And I'd love to hear other people's views on that, and whether they had if anybody else made it to the end of the video and thought about those things as well.
All right, thanks, Peter. We are at the bottom of the hour, and this is supposed to be a 90-minute meetup. So just for the people who are watching the recording, I'm going to stop the recording here. Thank you for attending the Pacific Town Hall. And we have this every 2 weeks. And perhaps a conversation on DAOs would be a good conversation for the next one. So thanks for tuning in.